What if I told you there's a secret, known to an ancient Egyptian entity called Thoth, that will determine whether you'll be a victim or a master of the collapse happening in 2026? In the next 30 seconds, I'm going to prove to you that the reality you know, your personal matrix, is already disintegrating, and most people will be caught off guard. But not you. In this video, I'm not just going to reveal Thoth's most powerful secret, I'm going to give you the exact map to use this information and transform what would be the end of the world for many into the beginning of your true life. Staying until the end isn't an option, it's a necessity for those who don't want to be left behind. If you also feel that something big is about to happen, comment, "I feel the call." The supreme and most difficult task is the liberation of the human spirit from its self-imposed prison. Have you ever felt that something is fundamentally wrong with the world? It's not a passing worry, but a deep unease in the soul, a feeling that reality as we know it is becoming fragile. Millions of people share this same inexplicable feeling, a silent certainty that a great change is approaching on the horizon. They go about their daily routines, but an inner emptiness grows each day, a sign that the life they were sold as normal is, in fact, nothing more than an elaborate distraction to hide a much greater truth about who they really are and the purpose of their being here. This unsettling feeling is not a figment of your imagination, but rather a distant echo of a truth that has been suppressed for ages. It is the premonition that the foundations of our world, once considered solid and unshakable, are beginning to crack under the weight of their own contradictions. People seek answers in the wrong places, trapped in a cycle of work and consumption that only deepens the emptiness. They don't realize they are part of a larger machine, an invisible structure that feeds on their energy and their disconnection from their true spiritual essence. What exactly is to come? The answer is not found in the news or expert analysis, but in ancient knowledge that has been deliberately hidden. Amidst the legends and myths of the past, a name resurfaces from the depths of time, an enigmatic figure who is said to have recorded the secrets of the cosmos and left a crucial warning about our era. Knowledge so powerful that, if revealed, it could dismantle the power structures that govern the world. This knowledge was not lost, it was merely waiting for the right moment to emerge. That moment has finally arrived. The growing collective unease is a sign that the planet's frequency is shifting, and with it, human consciousness is being forced to awaken. What was once whispered in closed circles is now beginning to echo in everyone's mind. The truth, so long buried beneath layers of misinformation and distractions, is coming to light. And the one who holds the key to deciphering the unfolding events is that figure from the past, the silent scribe who saw and recorded everything. The clues to what is happening are not in external events, but in the very wisdom that has been silenced. The warning left by this ancient entity is not a prophecy of the end of the world, but a map for transformation, a guide to navigate the dissolution of the old reality and the birth of a new one. The question is not whether change will come, but whether you will be prepared for it. And the first step in this preparation is knowing the name of the one who kept the secret for so long, the name that was intentionally erased from history. This name, which now faintly echoes on the fringes of our consciousness, is Thoth, the scribe of the gods, the architect of wisdom in ancient Egypt. His figure is not merely a myth, but the symbol of a profound knowledge that formed the basis of many esoteric traditions. He is described as the one who recorded, with absolute neutrality, the great cycles of rise and fall of civilizations, understanding the universal laws that govern existence. His wisdom was so vast that it was said he held the keys to the very fabric of reality. But if his knowledge was so vital, why was he silenced? Why were his most important lessons distorted or relegated to mere legends? The answer is simple. Thoth's knowledge liberates, and individual freedom is the greatest threat to any system based on control. He taught that power does not reside in external structures, but within each human being. A dangerous truth for those who built empires on the ignorance and fear of the masses, keeping humanity in a state of spiritual dependence. Power structures, both religious and secular, have worked for millennia to bury this wisdom. They replaced it with dogmas that demand blind obedience and a materialistic system that denies the existence of anything beyond what can be touched or measured. Thoth knew that humanity possessed a dormant divine potential, and his work was to provide the tools to awaken that potential. For this reason, his most direct teachings were considered heresy, an affront to established control, and were hunted down and suppressed. The surviving legends tell us that Thoth was more than just a god of the Egyptian pantheon. He was a cosmic consciousness, one of the survivors of legendary Atlantis, who managed to preserve ancestral wisdom before the great catastrophe submerged the continent. As a guardian of time, he witnessed the fall of a civilization that had achieved immense technological and spiritual power, but which succumbed to its own arrogance and imbalance. This memory serves as a warning to our own civilization, which now finds itself at a similar crossroads. In his writings, Thoth left not only the history of what was, but also a glimpse of what is to come. He did not make prophecies of a fixed future, but described the cycles of energy and the consequences of humanity's collective choices. Among his knowledge was a clear warning about an artifact of unimaginable power, a repository of wisdom that contained not only the secrets of the universe, but also the key to understanding the transition we are about to face. A book that contained the stark truth. This artifact is not merely a physical object, but a symbol of knowledge that can radically transform the perception of reality. Knowledge so potent that it was sealed and protected, accessible only to those truly ready to abandon the illusion of the world. The existence of this forbidden book, which holds Thoth's message for our era, is the starting point for uncovering what is truly at stake. A book whose contents, if revealed, could lead an unprepared mind to complete disintegration. The book that drives you crazy. Esoteric traditions speak of this artifact as the Book of Thoth, not a book of paper and ink, but a compendium of living wisdom, containing the fundamental laws of creation, the keys to true magic, and the secrets to transcending death itself. Legend says that its knowledge is so overwhelming that an ordinary mind, unprepared for the truth it contains, would be instantly driven to madness. The structure of reality, as we know it, would simply dissolve before such a revelation, for the book exposes the illusory nature of the material world. This book is, in fact, a symbol for something much greater, the Akashic records. A dimension of consciousness, a universal etheric library where every thought, every word, and every action throughout the history of the cosmos is forever recorded. It is a field of pure information, the living memory of the universe. And it is in this field that Thoth sealed his most crucial warning about our time, a specific message destined to be deciphered only when humanity is on the verge of an unprecedented transformation. Madness would be the result of accessing this truth without proper preparation. The danger lies not in knowledge itself, but in the inability of the human ego to deal with it. Our identity is built upon a house of cards of limiting beliefs, fears, and attachments. The Book of Thoth acts as a powerful wind that topples this fragile structure all at once. It reveals that everything we consider solid and real is nothing more than a projection of consciousness. For a mind that identifies completely with the material world, this revelation is not liberating, but terrifying. For it signifies the death of everything it believes itself to be. Imagine discovering that your entire life, your memories, your achievements, and your sufferings are all part of a dream. The truth contained in this book is exactly that, but on a cosmic scale. It unmasks the illusion of separation, the idea that we are individual and isolated beings. Accessing this information without a solid spiritual foundation is like looking directly at the sun. The intensity of the light is so great that it blinds instead of illuminating. Therefore, this knowledge has been veiled in symbols and allegories to be understood in stages. It is in this book, in this cosmic library, that the message about the year 2026 was recorded. Not as a prophecy of disaster, but as a description of an energetic turning point, a moment when the veil of illusion would become so thin that the truth would begin to seep into the collective consciousness. Thoth's warning was about the dangers of going through this period without proper preparation, as the disintegration of the old reality could be perceived as chaos and destruction by those still clinging to it. So, the question that echoes through the millennia is, what exactly is written on those forbidden pages? What is the specific message about 2026 that was considered so dangerous that it was hidden? The answer is not a simple phrase or decree, but the revelation of a cosmic cycle that is reaching its climax. A cycle that was initiated by a decision humanity made not long ago, an event that sealed our fate and activated the countdown to the great change. To understand why 2026 is such a crucial date, we need to go back in time to an event that went unnoticed by most of the population, but which sealed the fate of our era. In 1971, according to certain traditions, it was revealed that superior cosmic forces granted humanity a period of grace of approximately 50 years, a unique window of opportunity offered after the terrible cataclysms and the two world wars that marked the first half of the 20th century. Humanity was on a path of self-destruction, and this was the chance to change course. The agreement was clear and direct. If, by mid-2019, humanity could avoid a new war of global proportions, an unprecedented path of spiritual evolution would be unlocked. The test was not about achieving perfect peace, but about demonstrating a collective choice not to repeat the same destructive mistakes of the past. It was a test of spiritual maturity on a planetary scale, and against all odds, amidst tensions and conflicts, humanity fulfilled its part of the agreement. Mass self-destruction was avoided. However, avoiding disaster was only the first condition, the prerequisite for what would come next. The real prize, the profound transformation, would not begin immediately. The agreement stipulated that, after the deadline in 2019, there would be a 7-year transition period. 7 years for the energies to readjust and for the veil separating the physical world from the spiritual world to begin to thin. This 7-year period leads us directly to the year 2026. The evaluation period is over. The choice has been made, and the consequences of that choice are now unfolding before us. What once seemed a distant date in an abstract future has become imminent. The grace period was not an eternal amnesty, but a chance to qualify for the next phase of our evolution. Now that the deadline has expired and the transition period is drawing to a close, the rules of the game are fundamentally changing. The energy that sustains our world is being altered at its core. If the grace period is over, what exactly begins in 2026? The visible manifestation of the new energetic frequency on Earth begins. It is the moment when the structure of the old reality, which has kept us trapped for so long, can no longer sustain itself. The date is not arbitrary, but the culmination of a cosmic cycle that was activated by our own collective choice. It is the inflection point where the illusion becomes so transparent that it can no longer be ignored by those who are awakening. And this is where the date connects with the structure that imprisons us without our knowing. This structure, this invisible prison, can only exist in an environment of low energy frequency, based on fear and separation. With the end of the grace period and the arrival of the new energy, this prison is about to have its foundations shaken. But what exactly is this prison? And how has it kept us captive for so long without most of us even realizing its existence? The invisible prison. The prison that is about to crumble is not made of steel bars, computer codes, or any technology we can see. It is much more subtle, ancient, and powerful. It is a web woven with energy, emotions, and, above all, thoughts. Eastern philosophers called it Maya, the veil of illusion, an energetic structure that has been carefully woven over millennia with a very specific purpose: to keep us disconnected from our true divine nature, from our limitless spiritual essence, and from the power we possess. This structure feeds on our low-frequency emotions. Fear, guilt, shame, competition, and the incessant desire for external validation are the fuel that keeps it strong. It creates a consensual reality, a collective agreement that the material world is the only truth that exists. Most people accept this reality without questioning it, living their lives within the invisible bars of this prison, never realizing that they are prisoners of a system that they themselves help to sustain every day. The purpose of this spiritual matrix is simple, yet utterly devastating: to prevent the mass awakening of humanity. If enough people were to awaken to their true nature, the entire control system would collapse. Therefore, it manifests itself in beliefs that have become so normalized that we no longer question them. Beliefs that teach us to distrust one another, to accumulate material possessions as if they were the source of happiness, and to fear failure above all else. It is constantly reinforced through the institutions that shape our society. Educational systems that prioritize obedience over critical thinking, a media that bombards us with narratives of fear and scarcity, and a consumer culture that keeps us perpetually distracted and dissatisfied. The goal is to keep us busy, chasing carrots on a treadmill without the time or energy to look inward and ask the questions that truly matter. Who am I? Why am I here? This is the true nature of the invisible prison. a mental and emotional programming that runs in our subconscious, dictating our reactions and limiting our perception of reality. It convinces us that we are merely physical beings, mortal and powerless, subject to the forces of chance. But the truth that this system fears most of all is that you are not a body that has a soul. You are an infinite soul that is temporarily inhabiting a physical body for a learning experience. A soul that remembers its divinity and its creative power cannot be controlled, cannot be manipulated, and cannot be imprisoned. And that is why, in 2026, this age-old structure will begin to disintegrate. Not by an external force, but because the planet's own energy is shifting in a way that makes the existence of this prison unsustainable. What exactly makes this year the inevitable breaking point? The answer lies in the physics of our own planet. The year 2026 does not mark an apocalyptic event or a physical cataclysm, as many might imagine. What it represents is a vibrational inflection point, the acceleration of a process that has been underway for decades. The key to understanding this lies in the frequency of our own planet. Scientifically, this frequency is known as the Schumann resonance, which is, in simplified terms, the electromagnetic pulse of the Earth, the planet's heartbeat. For a long time, this frequency remained stable around 7.83 Hz. However, in recent years, scientists have recorded peaks and drastic changes in this resonance. The Earth's fundamental pulse is rising, meaning the planet is literally changing its energy signature. The Earth is tuning into a higher, more refined frequency. And, according to universal laws, everything on the planet must eventually harmonize with this new frequency. What fails to adapt simply begins to disintegrate. This has profound implications for all structures built upon the old frequency, a denser and lower energy. Political, economic, social and religious systems based on ego, separation, control and fear will become energetically unsustainable. They will not be overthrown by revolutions or wars, but will implode from within as their vibrational foundation will no longer be compatible with the new energetic reality of the planet. What is false, what is corrupt, what is based on illusion, simply will no longer be able to sustain itself. That is why the spiritual matrix, this ancient low-vibration programming, is nearing its end. It can only operate in an environment of fear and separation. As the Earth's frequency rises, the light of consciousness begins to penetrate the cracks in this structure, exposing its lies and manipulations. What was once hidden in the shadows is now being brought to light. What was sick in our society and in ourselves is being exposed so that it can be healed or removed once and for all. This transition is not optional. It is a cosmic, biological, and spiritual imperative. Every human being on the planet will be confronted with a fundamental choice: to raise their own personal frequency to align with the new energy of the Earth, or to remain attached to the old programming and break under the pressure of vibrational dissonance. The Earth no longer vibrates as it once did, and coherence with its new rhythm is the only key to making the crossing harmoniously, rather than traumatically. This brings us back to the central question: how could Thoth, thousands of years ago, have known all this with such precision? He didn't have the scientific instruments we have today to measure the Schumann resonance. So what was the secret he possessed? What knowledge did he have that allowed him to understand and predict these great cosmic and planetary cycles? The answer reveals his deepest power, a secret that has nothing to do with the external world, but with the universe that exists within each of us. The most powerful secret of Thoth. The deepest and most powerful secret that Thoth guarded and attempted to transmit to humanity is not a prophecy about external events, but a revelation about our inner universe. The key lies in his most famous teaching, inscribed on the emerald tablet: "As above, so below. As below, so above." This is not merely a poetic phrase. It is the formula of creation. It reveals that the macrocosm of the universe is a perfect reflection of the microcosm of the human being. The collapse of the external matrix is merely a mirror of the collapse of our own internal limitations. This is the truth that the control system fears most. You are not a physical body that possesses a soul. You are an infinite soul, a spark of divine consciousness, temporarily inhabiting a body to have an experience on the material plane. Your true identity is not your name, your profession, or your personal history. Your true identity is consciousness itself, the same force that created galaxies and stars, and a soul that remembers its own divinity and its inherent power cannot be controlled, deceived, or imprisoned. This is the great secret. Inner alchemy, the ancient sacred art of transforming the lead of our shadows, fears, and traumas into the pure gold of our enlightened consciousness. Thoth, as the master alchemist, taught that the transformation of the world begins with the transformation of oneself. We cannot enter the new earth, the new frequency, carrying the weight of the old world within us. We must die to what we believed ourselves to be, so that we can be reborn into what we truly are in essence. The initiation that the year 2026 offers is not a punishment or a test, but a portal of ascension. It is a unique opportunity to break free from the chains of the past and reclaim our power as co-creators of reality. The disintegration of the external matrix forces each of us to look inward and confront our own internal matrix, the victim programming, scarcity, and fear that we carry. The choice is ours. We can cling to the wreckage of the old illusion, or we can use the energy of change to propel ourselves to a new level of being. The Earth knew that the key to predicting the great cycles was understanding that humanity's collective consciousness directly influences planetary reality. He didn't need instruments to measure the Earth's frequency, as he could read the frequency of human consciousness. He knew that when humanity was ready to awaken, the Earth itself would respond by raising its vibration to facilitate this process. His secret was mastery over his own inner universe, which gave him access to an understanding of the outer universe. But how can we know if this process is already happening? How can we be sure it's not just another theory? The answer lies in the visible signs that the disintegration of the matrix is already leaving in our world and in our lives. Signs that are everywhere, but that most people, still immersed in the programming, ignore or misinterpret. What are these clear signs that the structure of illusion is already cracking around us? The collapse of the matrix is not an event that will happen in a single day in the future. It is a process that is already well underway, and its cracks are visible to anyone with eyes to see. The first sign, and perhaps the most widespread, is the epidemic of emotional disconnection. The paralyzing anxiety, the feeling of existential emptiness, and the waves of seemingly causeless depression affecting millions of people are not individual failings. It is the collective soul rebelling against artificial programming, a cry for purpose and meaning that materialism cannot offer. Observe the external structures that sustained the old world. Healthcare systems that treat symptoms instead of curing causes. Educational systems that prepare for obedience instead of creativity. Economic systems that promote inequality and environmental destruction, and religions that have lost their connection to the sacred. All these structures are creaking under the pressure of the new frequency. Their profound dysfunctions and their inability to truly serve human well-being are becoming increasingly evident to all. At the same time that old structures crumble, a silent and powerful awakening gains strength each day. It is not a noisy, televised revolution, but an inner transformation that happens in the silence of hearts. Millions of people, without fanfare and without seeking recognition, are radically changing their habits. They are abandoning processed diets, seeking spiritual practices such as meditation and yoga, questioning the narratives imposed by the media, and actively working to heal their personal and generational traumas. This inner revolution is the most powerful sign that the Matrix is losing its power. Each person who chooses love instead of fear, collaboration instead of competition, and inner truth instead of external validation is actively dismantling the invisible prison. They are beacons of light that together are raising the vibration of the planet. Change will not come from governments or institutions, but from within each individual who has the courage to align with their own truth. For those who have built their lives on the unstable ground of illusion, the crack that was once invisible is becoming a real earthquake. Relationships, careers, and belief systems that are not based on authenticity are crumbling. What could once be swept under the rug is now surfacing with undeniable force. The chaos we see in the world is not a sign that all is lost, but rather that everything is being cleansed and purified to make way for the new. The signs are everywhere, in small and large events. Thoth taught us to read the symbolic language of the universe, and those who learn to do so recognize the omens in every crisis and every awakening. The question is no longer whether change is happening, but rather what we will do about it. If the signs of collapse are already so clear, how can we actively prepare to weather this inevitable storm before it's too late to choose our path? The Initiate's Map. To cross the energetic portal of 2026, preparation isn't about stockpiling supplies or building underground shelters. Preparation is entirely internal. It's the Initiate's journey, a path of self-knowledge and purification that ancient mystery schools, like those of Thoth, taught their disciples. The first step, and the most crucial, is daily mental detoxification. This means taking conscious control of what you allow into your mind, your most sacred temple. Drastically reduce your exposure to narratives of fear, negativity, and division, which are the Matrix's primary control tool. Turn off the news, silence notifications, and declutter your social media. Instead, create a sacred space in your day, even if only for a few minutes, to silence the external noise. Breathe deeply, meditate, or simply be silent, allowing the subtle voice of your intuition to become clearer and louder than the shrill voice of your ego. Your physical body is the vehicle for this journey, the temple that houses your soul. Treat it with the respect it deserves. Nourish it with living foods, full of vital energy, such as fresh fruits and vegetables, and drink plenty of pure water. Ensure adequate rest, for it is during sleep that the body regenerates and the soul reconnects with higher dimensions. Move your body consciously, whether through walks in nature, yoga or dance, to release stagnant energies and keep your vibrational field high. Ancient energy cleansing practices become essential tools in this process. Regular contact with nature, whether walking barefoot on the grass or taking a dip in the sea, helps to discharge excess electromagnetic energy and realign us with the Earth's pulse. The conscious use of elements such as water to purify the body and emotions, and fire through the flame of a candle to focus intention,